All right, you got your strengths now. What I want you to do is take out what's called the Clifton Strengths 34 report. And I want you to get the report that shows on one side is the top 10, on the other side is the rest. All right, all the way from 11 down to 34. And what I want to do is help you understand this report and start getting results within 24 hours. Here we go. Okay, first, a few important ground rules. All right, I call this the golden rule. So the golden rule states strengths has nothing to do with what you can't do. So if you're already bringing that energy to this, stop right now. The next thing is strengths has everything to do with how you do everything your way, and it works, but only 100% of the time. Your top 10 strengths are where you are influential, where you are creative, where you are productive, and then you connect with others your way. Your bottom 5 are where you hold others back. They're where you become boring, unproductive, right? All those times you find yourself scrolling through the internet or Facebook or whatever, and you're ultimately disconnecting from the right people, especially the right people. So it's important to understand those ground rules. So what we want to do is we want to stay in the top and let go of the bottom. Here's my favorite part right here. Joy and results. It works like this. When we do exactly what the successful do to get where we want to be, we can guarantee success, but not joy. When we use our strengths with everything we do, we can definitely guarantee joy, but not results, right? When we do everything the successful do using our infinitely unique strengths, we get joy and results. And what this means is we learn from the best people from the things that we want to be, whether you want to be a great parent or a great internet marketer or a great business owner or a great coach, no matter what it is you want to do, right? There are plenty of successful people that have taught and shared successful principles. What you want to do is honor those principles with your infinitely unique strengths and do all of this your way, because we deserve nothing less than joy and results. That's why you're here. To focus on what you are good at and getting everything you want the way you want to get it. So what keeps us from creating everything we want authentically? There's one thing, and it's got two parts. The first one is hesitation. Hesitation comes when there is something you want to do and you doubt you can do it by just being you. What that means is that oftentimes we want to do something and we just believe to ourselves that we can't get it by being who we are, that we have to change in some way. The other thing that causes hesitation is because there is something that you want to do and you fear something important is being risked, whether it's caring about people or having time with people that you care about, or being unproductive or uncreative and so on. Ultimately, this hesitation comes. And when we hesitate, we don't act consistently. And so ultimately what we want to do is understand how to overcome hesitation so that we are more consistent in whatever it is we want to do. And so strengths, in particular, the domains of strengths, is the secret antidote to hesitation. So when you know your strengths and you know who you are and you know what must be honored with everything you do, you act more consistently with joy and thus get results. And so the domains are broken up like this. So Gallup took each of the 34 strengths and grouped them into what's called leadership domains. And these leadership domains show what you care about most. So you're about to look at your top 10 strengths and know exactly what matters to you most, which must be honored with everything you do so you hesitate less and produce more. So take a look at your top 10 strengths right now and take a look at how many of these strengths you have in your top 10. And what I want you to do is take notice of the ones you have 3 or more of in the top 10. Okay, so Take a notice right now, take inventory. How many you have? How many of the relationship building strengths do you have in your top 10? How many of the influencing strengths? How many of the executing strengths? And how many of the strategic thinking strengths? Now, what I want you to understand is that strengths is not the end, it's the beginning. When we honor our strengths with everything we do, we get into what's called authentic flow. Once you're in authentic flow, you move consistently without having to focus on this consciously. Okay, so let's get started. So if you have 3 or more of the relationship building strengths in your top 10, the desire that must be honored with everything you do is to connect with the right people. That means that before you go to start do anything, ask yourself, who are the right people involved? And how do I connect with them? And connecting means feeling their feelings, being present, honoring who they want to be, and ultimately how you can be of service and connection through them. Being patient. That means that if you've got strengths like adaptability, being present in the moment is important to you. If you have a strength like empathy in your top 10, feeling the feelings of others is important to you. If you have strengths like harmony, then making sure that things flow a certain way is important to you. So you begin the project or whatever it is you're going to do by beginning with who are the right people and how do I connect? Now, when it comes to the right people, that's really up to you, but I'm going to give you a couple of strengths to think about to help you to better connect with those right people. And by the way, whether you have 3 or more relationship building strengths in your top 10 does not matter, okay, on what I'm about to tell you. So if you have includer in the top 10 and relator in the bottom 5, okay, what this does is it helps you understand that the right people are a very large amount of people. People that have includer high want to not be in charge of who gets excluded or included and so on, because high includers, low relators want to make sure everybody is given an opportunity to be heard or felt or honored or invited and so on, right? So the right people for somebody with high includer, low relator, the right people for you is pretty large group, okay? And then you're pretty good at what I would say is spreading connection or ability to connect out to more people. You like a crowd is what I'm trying to say. Now, if we flip that and say relator in the top 10 and includer in the bottom 5, then it's the opposite, all right? For you, the right people is a very small group of people, like maybe 1 or 2. High relators and low includers have what's called those, like 1, maybe 2 of those ride or die friends, and that's it. And this is why a relationship builder or anybody with relator high and includer low tend to be labeled as introverts, when the truth is you are totally extroverted, but only with that select few. And so if you have 3 or more of the relationship building strengths and you've got this combination, then that helps you understand who are the right people. Now, you're probably watching this report going, well, what if you have them both high? What if you have them both low? Or what if you have them both in the middle? Ultimately, then you fall somewhere in the middle of that, what I would call spectrum, right? Either includer high, lots of people, or relator high, small group of people. So for now, ultimately, as a relationship builder, everything you do begins with connection. So if you're going to go and do anything today, now that you know what your strengths are, if you've got 3 or more of these relationship building strengths in your top 10, go connect, which means stop thinking that you have to have some sort of plan or strategy or structure or routine. Begin with first connecting with those right people, finding out where they're at, and then the ideas, the strategies, the influence, and all those things will follow. Speaking of influence, let's move on to the next one. If you have 3 or more of the influencing strengths in your top 10, the desire that must be honored with everything you do is to move people forward. What that means is that what you want to do is get people from one place to the next. You want to help people overcome challenges. You want to inspire them. You want to see them like establish exactly where they are, establish exactly where they want to be, establish exactly how they want to get there. But most importantly, if you've got 3 or more influencing strengths in the top 10, you want to be a part of that. So where influencers typically tend to drop the ball is they meet people and they tell people, hey, you're this, and you could be this, and you can get there this way, and I can help you, and here's how. And then the influencers tend to see those people get deer in headlights look and walk away. So what you want to do as an influencer is get really good at asking people where they want to be, asking people where they want to go, how they want to get there, and then tell them a story about how you have overcome your own adversities. Because see, influencers like to make it about themselves. So tell them a story about how you've overcome your own adversities and why you are the best person to support them, cheer them on, or even challenge them or command them to move from where they are to where they want to be. And then, of course, with support and accountability. So ultimately, as an influencer, if you're doing things in a way that honors your desire to move groups of people, not individuals, groups of people forward, then you're always going to be in full, consistent movement. Even if you're doing something as simple as vacuuming your house. All right, so we've got connecting with the right people and moving people forward. Now, oftentimes there are people with 3 or more relationship building strengths, right? And there's oftentimes they also have 3 or more influencing strengths. Now, there's a difference between an influencer and a relationship builder. And let me just share that real quick before I move on to the next one. Relationship builders need to connect and enjoy moving people forward. Influencers need to move people forward and enjoy connecting with people. But ultimately, depending on how many they have or how many you have in the top 10, will determine which one takes a priority. In other words, relationship builders will sacrifice moving people forward, right? Will sacrifice moving people forward in order to better connect, right? And ultimately, it means that relationship builders will say, look, I don't care if we don't move forward, we need to connect. Influencers will sacrifice connection in order to guarantee moving people forward, which means that an influencer will be more ready to be unliked or not liked as long as moving forward is taking place. So very important. So ultimately what you want to do is honor these desires with everything you do. And I'll share with you how you can learn more in just a moment. Let's go to the next one. If you have 3 or more of the executing strengths in your top 10, the desire that must be honored with everything you do is to make sure things are done the right way. This is why high executors tend to do things like make lists or have checklists or some sort of a process to measure whether or not things are getting done. High executors sometimes have checklists in their head. They don't actually write things down. They check things off in their head, or they don't write things down or have things in their head and they put things in piles. But ultimately, the executor must see that things, whatever things are being done. That means they're being finished and the right way. And the executors, it's up to you to decide what the right way is. So let's break this down real quick so you understand. As an executor, making sure means measuring. That means there must be something in your life that you want to do, and there must be some sort of a measurement of whether or not it's getting done. Things can be anything. It can be a project. It can be a friendship. It can be a group. It could be a church organization. It could be a family. It could be a business. It could be anything. But there is a thing that there must be some sort of measurement. And as long as we're measuring the thing, then we know that they're being done. And when it comes to the right way, there's 3 different types of ways. There's your way, right? As an executor, you've got a way. There's other people's way, which is how you feel or see other people being more efficient, right? And then, of course, there's God's way. And so if you've got certain strengths high, like let's say belief or responsibility, then likely God's way is an important way for you. So you decide what that means when I say God's way. That's up to you to decide. But ultimately, making sure, measuring things are being done the right way is important for you. Either it's through structure or routine with discipline, or it's well thought out. And ultimately, the obstacles are avoided if you have deliberative, but ultimately that right way. So if you have 3 or more executing strengths in your top 10, ask yourself, what's the right way for you? And it's important for you to make sure that you are honoring that things are done that right way. By the way, this is where executors tend to go south. is they have such a strong commitment to things being done the right way. And this could be you, so you decide, they get frustrated when other people don't share that value or that core rule. But the truth is that if an executor is working with a couple of influencers and relationship builders, ultimately you got to understand that their way is helpful if you stop asking them to be something they're not and start appreciating what they are. You'll find the productivity. And ultimately, so as an executor, make sure that you're always honoring that things are getting done the right way. And ultimately, you get to move forward authentically. So I typically ask executors, look at your process. How do you like to make lists, or how do you like to make sure or measure things are done the right way? And then ask yourself, how does that bring value to you? And when you share how that brings value to you, especially to other people who are not like you, they'll start to see how they can benefit from your value or your way of doing things. And then you do the same. Ask them how they like to do things. So you can insert their style into your process. Let's move into the last one. If you have 3 or more of the strategic thinking strengths in your top 10, the desire that must be honored with everything you do is to think, create, and or learn. Now, the strategic thinkers, before they do anything, there's a certain amount of thinking or analyzing or strategizing or theorizing or visualizing that gets to take place. This is why strategic thinkers, if you have 3 or more of them, tend to do really well when they take a walk once a day, or meditate once a day, or have some sort of a visual stimulation like a visual stimulation when it comes to dreaming or strategizing, right? Taking information and breaking it down, complex information, breaking it down and making it simpler. Strategic thinkers love to take information and just gather it in. So they like to watch documentaries, read lots of books, watch endless amounts of YouTube videos, and just gather information. And there's never enough information for a strategic thinker. And so what do they do with this information? Well, let's talk about that. So if you have 3 or more of the strategic thinking strengths, this is where strategic thinkers tend to go south, is because of their passion and desire to gather lots of information. You know a lot, right? And anytime anybody asks a simple question, it becomes almost impossible to give a simple answer. And so how you know a strategic thinker is you ask them a simple question. And if you get a 3 to 5 minute answer on a simple yes or no question, you've got yourself a strategic thinker. See, what they like to do is they like to gather information so much that ultimately they believe it's all relevant, it's all important. This is why strategic thinkers have a difficult time with things like politics or certain types of rules in certain cultures, because strategic thinkers can see the gray area in between the light and the dark. And so they just got all this information, and that's typically why they have trouble answering simple questions. As you can tell, I am a strategic thinker. So I'm unloading a lot, but I've got so much more. So this is actually me toning it down, by the way. So ultimately, to finish this off, strategic thinkers will do so much better if, when a person asks them a question, ask them, why do you ask? To try to understand, what is a person really trying to get from you? And then only give them the information they asked for. And then when you feel this desire and need to dump more, ask a question like, hey, I've got more. Would you like more? If they say yes, give them a little more and ask them again. If they say no, then stop, and you'll stop getting that deer in headlights look when people ask you a simple question. Oh, by the way, if you are a strategic thinker and you're in the business of selling something, stop throwing all your information at people before they buy. Because ultimately what you want to do is say, hey, buy, and then you get all my information, because your information is the most valuable thing. It's really the most valuable thing. And ultimately, you get to use that value as an incentive to purchase whatever it is you sell, just in case you're in some sort of a sales business. So let's go ahead and go right to this last part. Strategic thinkers do best when they honor everything with their desire to think, create, and or learn. So no matter what it is you want to do, make sure that you're looking at it all from a standpoint of, what do I get to learn from this process? All right. So let's finish this up with what I call the strengths proclamation. Okay. So what I want you to do is take a moment and think about, what do these domains mean to you? What does it mean to you to connect? What does it mean to you to move people forward? What does it mean to you to make sure things are done the right way? And what does it mean to you to think, create, and or learn? And what I want you to do is kind of hone in on that feeling of how much joy you get when you're in that mode or in that flow. And then I want you to know that on the other end of doing that consistently, you're going to find results. All you got to do is believe that you're enough. I've read and broken down and worked with thousands of people. And every single time somebody owns and loves who they are, they get results. And it works in that order. So what we want to do is begin everything we do with the strengths proclamation. And what I want you to do in this proclamation is to proclaim it to others and proactively claim it for you. And how it works is like this. Anything you have 3 or more of in the top 10, you write this strengths proclamation down. I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to connect with the right people, move people forward, make sure things are done the right way, think, create, and or learn. So just to help you understand this, if you've got 3 relationship building and 3 influencing strengths in your top 10, and you don't have 3 of the other ones, then you simply say, I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to connect with the right people and move people forward. So if you have 7 strategic thinking strengths in your top 10, and you don't have anything of 3 or more in your top 10, then it's 1. It's I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to think, create, and or learn. Or if you have, let's say, 4 executing strengths and 4 relationship building strengths, then you say, I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to make sure things are done the right way and connect with the right people. Now, you might be feeling this sense of, well, don't I do all the other things? Of course you do all the other things. You do everything. But you do everything best when you begin. This is the important piece. And then we're going to end on this. You do everything best when you begin with honoring the desire that comes most important to you. And that's what this is all about. It's knowing what's important to you, what's a priority. So you stop hesitating. When you focus and you honor the priority with everything you do first, you hesitate less. So with whatever it is you want to do right now, okay, I want you to think of whatever you want to do. You do it by beginning with this desire. So the truth is, you do anything that way. So think about what it is you want to do today. All right, let's get some results today. Think about what you want to do today. And if you've got 3 or more relationship building strengths, ask yourself, who are the right people? And it could be 1 or 2. That's fine. If you've got 3 or more of the influencing strengths, who are the people that need to move forward? If you've got 3 or more of the executing strengths, what are the systems, the processes, or the step-by-steps that need to get done? If you have 3 or more of the strategic thinking strengths, what is the information you already have that's useful, or what is the information that you need in order to be useful? And ultimately, you go get it. So when you do this thing today in a way that honors your desire to connect with the right people, move people forward, make sure things are done the right way, or think, create, and or learn, when you begin that, today you will get results.